Killua plays a game of bloody darts in my review of Hunter x Hunter episode 101. I think my favorite thing about the entire Chimera Ant arc so far has been the incredible outlandishness of all the characters they keep introducing, and this episode of Hunter x Hunter was no exception. In the last episode we got to see Killua being a badass and taking on all of these Chimera Ants, literally like snapping their necks and stabbing them left and right. And in this episode, it looks like he's a little bit more on the defensive when we're introduced to these other new Chimera Ants known as the Ortho siblings, who have a really crazy ability. But before they even get to that, there's this really cool moment with Ikalgo, who's that octopus Chimera Ant. There's a very funny scene where Ikalgo recalls his past as a younger octopus, and he wishes that he was a squid because he sees squids as awesome and beautiful, and octopi as dumb and ugly. Ikalgo, rather than selling out his other Chimera Ants, decide to literally cut off his gun arm and fall into the water to be devoured by his fellow Chimera Ants. But Killua likes this. He's actually been taken back a bit by Ikalgo, and he even says, you know, in another time we could have probably been friends. So he decides to spare his life, and Killua decides to get out of this place. So Killua decides he's going to escape from the cave when all of a sudden these friggin' needlefish start getting stuck in his body, just appearing out of nowhere. And they're just piercing right through him. He's bleeding all over the place, and he has no idea what he's going to be able to do. When all of a sudden, this like pattern starts appearing all over his body, and that's when you finally realize that he's essentially been turned into a human dartboard, and that's where we're introduced to these other characters known as the Ortho siblings, which essentially are these creature from the Black Lagoon-esque looking people. They're a brother and sister team, and they have this really weird ability where essentially if they put this badge on you, they can connect you to this dartboard, and whenever they throw the darts, it'll correspond to a part on your body, and you'll get hit by the dart. And what's really dangerous about all of this is you can't see them coming at all. The minute the dart hits the board, it's inside of your body. So this entire scene is really, really tense because Killua is trying to figure out how to stop this really devastating technique. And, I mean, you know, Killua's used to pain and everything, but he's obviously in some really big danger here. I do actually like the fact that they're playing by the actual rules of darts, and you can actually see that the score is going down to 0 little by little by little. And as it goes on, Killua looks like he's almost going to be defeated. He's bleeding out all over the place, and that's when he comes up with this plan. He starts to have all this lightning appear around his body, and then eventually it looks like he gets hit in the forehead right with a dart, and it looks like he's dead. The siblings go up to check on him, and they think they've pretty much won the match, and I love it because as soon as they think they win, they start to give each other a big high five, and then all of a sudden Killua just pops up, decapitates both of them at the same time. It is so awesome. This is funny because even though they're decapitated, they're still lamenting over the fact that they've just been defeated, and we get a pretty awesome explanation as to how all of this worked. Now, apparently Killua used his electricity in order to sense whenever this fish dart was going to appear right in front of his forehead and catch it. And then he ripped the needle part off and he attached an octopus's suction cup to it and put it on his forehead to make it seem like it was sticking out so that he could trick them. But how did he even know it was going to hit him in the forehead? Well, apparently Killua is like an expert at all things darts, and he even mastered the game when he was really, really young. So this was no problem for him at all, and he goes into a huge explanation on how he broke the game down and how the entire time he was counting the points down all the way to 0, and that's why he figured that the forehead would probably be the last place he was going to hit. And the fact that he had the checkerboard pattern just made it even easier. So wow, this was just a crazy episode. What's really freaky about all of it, though, is it sort of ends on this sort of pseudo cliffhanger. You get to see that Killua is like literally bleeding out towards the end, and it looks like he's going to die, when all of a sudden Ikalgo finally decides he's going to save him, and he decides he's not going to work with the Chimera Ants anymore. And this is great because so far we now have 2 Chimera Ants who have decided to, you know, leave their group entirely and work with the main characters. So this is really great. It's like Killua and Gon now have their Chimera Ant sidekick. This was another awesome episode of Hunter x Hunter, and Killua is just such an awesome character, probably one of the best characters of this series, and he's just so friggin' intense, and it all makes sense. He received some really hardcore training from his family, the group of assassins, so you know he's seen some really serious shit, but he's also very knowledgeable. The fact, like, when he broke down that entire, like, darts game was just really, really intimidating and badass at the same time. But also, it's just really cool how the entire time he was being hit by the fish darts, that he actually knew what was going on the entire time. So, and I'm glad that they kept that away from the viewer. The Ortho siblings, another group of Chimera Ants that are just ridiculous and crazy and really disturbing. They look like they're having way too much fun doing what they're doing. And Ikalgo, he's another surprise. I didn't expect his character to even last this long, but I'm glad he's sticking around because, frankly, he's pretty funny, and he's able to lighten up the mood because this episode was fairly dark, especially towards the end, and that's something that Hunter x Hunter does really well. It balances the light and the dark very well. But otherwise, I cannot wait to see the next episode because it looks like Chairman Netero is going to be doing something really freaking awesome. You can check that out in the preview. But this episode right here, just another one that I really liked. It was really intense the entire time, and just getting to see these new characters and their new crazy ability was awesome. And that decapitation scene, that was awesome. So I'm going to give it a 10 out of 10. Just an awesome episode. If you're a Hunter x Hunter fan, check it out. So how did you guys feel about this week's episode of Hunter x Hunter? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Did you have any favorite dart scenes? You can let me know with your comments below. Remember guys, before you leave, make sure and hit that like button so you can give this video a thumbs up. Absolutely one of the best ways to support our videos. So I will see you next time guys. Super Kami Guru 9000. Out.